Well, these are indeed tumultuous times, and I would be lying if I didn't acknowledge that I have been affected by them. I've been affected mentally, emotionally, physically at times, from being, locked down and isolated way more than my personality would appreciate or enjoy. And there's been a real consequence to my psyche. There's been a real consequence to my thought processes. There's been a consequence to my mindset, my attitude. My positive mental attitude has been derailed at times. Part of it's isolation, part of it is uncertainty of the future, part of it is economic realities of the world we live in, part of it is societal unrest, uh, but part of it is just fear. And I want to address that. I'm not one of those people that runs around saying fear is a liar. I don't really believe that. I think fear is a teacher. And I think we're in the midst of a time of great turmoil. And yet, and yet, we're in the midst of a time of great opportunity as well. The turmoil is necessary. I liken it to personal, mental, and physical health. Change must occur if a human is to grow, to evolve, to progress. Change has to occur. Ruts are lousy places to stay, right? No one likes to acknowledge that they stayed in a rut. Societally, we get into ruts as well. And, society has evolved different epochs over different periods of time. We've changed, we've grown, we've adapted in some ways really magnificently and beautifully. In some ways, we haven't grown as much as we'd like to think we have. And I guess what I want to say today is that growth will be painful. There are manifestations of that pain that are really powerful and beautiful and necessary. And what's critical for me to engage in that process with other people who are going through this as well is empathy. I need to approach people I don't understand with empathy, not sympathy, not feeling sad or sorry for someone, but with every effort I can make to engage in their suffering, to understand their perspective, to try for a moment to walk a mile in their shoes. Difficult to do, especially if you come at life from radically different perspectives, different backgrounds, different races, different cultures. And yet, it's possible. What's not productive is to stay in my rut of thinking, my rut of understanding society the way I've always understood it, or the way I've understood it up until this point, because it's changing. And I think what's critically important for me, and maybe this is food for thought for you, maybe it's not, I don't get to tell another member of this society how they're supposed to react to the things that occur in this world. I never understood Black Lives Matter. It seemed like a phrase that was exclusive, not inclusive. I think I finally understand it these past few years, and especially in recent months. It's not that other lives don't matter. It's that somebody's waving, even screaming, we matter. And if you believe that the treatment of people from different racial or ethnic groups is equal in this country, the data just doesn't support that opinion. It's just not true. I've had people argue with me saying the United States is not racist. Well, the United States is just a nation of people and ideas and perspectives. And so I guess that's technically true. The United States is not racist, but there are people within the United States that are passionately racist, that make their assumptions and judgments on people purely based on race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, whatever list you want to go down. And that's changing. And the youth of today, the people that are coming behind old people like me, are demanding that it change. They're demanding that we look at people as humans. And I would like to suggest that that's how we always should have looked at people, and we could have avoided millennia of problems if we had been evolved enough to look at people as fundamentally human and not less than because they're different than. And maybe you don't struggle with it. Maybe you don't think you struggle with it. And maybe you really don't struggle with it, but it doesn't really matter. And all that's really required for me is to reach out to those that are struggling and to say, I want to understand. And not only understand, I want to speak to injustice wherever I see it. If you want to have your perspective rocked, watch anything by Dave Chappelle, but watch his most recent June episode. I think it's titled 8 minutes and 46 seconds, because that's how long a police officer kneeled on the neck of George Floyd and suffocated the life out of him. And it's one of many injustices that have occurred to members of the Black community. I don't get to tell them how they're supposed to feel about that. I've never had that. I've never been pulled over because I've been profiled as a chubby, middle-aged, white, bald guy. That's never happened to me. I've been pulled over for speeding. I'm pretty good at that. I've even talked my way out of a few tickets. Anyone from the Washington State Patrol, close your ears right now. But I've never been profiled because I've been driving at night in the wrong neighborhood. I know people that have. I can't tell them how they're supposed to feel about that, but I can come alongside them and try to understand. I can make an effort to engage them in conversation so that my understanding, my comprehension of the world they live in is expanded. And then maybe I can speak out loud to how change could come about. You'll never see me advocating for vandalism, violence, destruction. I think those acts perpetrate consequence on exactly the wrong people. They tend to happen in areas where you're just hurting more people from a marginalized community by rioting and vandalizing and looting. There's no positive outcome to that. So I'll never defend that action. But I understand that uh, the friends that I have in the Black community, the friends that I have who are multiracial families are begging. No, they're not begging. They are demanding revolution. They're demanding a change in the way things are. And that's okay. This nation exists because of revolution, because of a group of people that demanded a change from the way things were. So don't get freaked out by the word revolution, or don't get freaked out by actions that seem extreme to you, because people are demanding change, and change needs to happen. Change needs to happen in me in order to grow and evolve. Like we began this conversation with, change needs to happen in you in order for you to grow and evolve. And society is just a whole bunch of yous and me's. So let's embrace the reality we're in, recognizing that, like exercise, like lifting weights, it's painful sometimes, but the product is growth. The product is a stronger person, and therefore the product of this will be a stronger society if we embrace change. And if we come alongside the people who are experiencing consequence and accept that change must happen. So change with me. We need to.